How are you doing?
Nice to see you. How are you?
Nice, yeah, great. Who are you looking forward to seeing being inducted into the Hall of Fame tonight?
I would have to say Vitor Belfort is front of mind because 2013, the year of Vitor Belfort, one of the greatest years I've ever seen out of any mixed martial arts fighter ever, and I was there for all three of those shows in Brazil, and his time has come. You know, I thought they might have called his number a few years earlier. I'm very happy for Vitor, and I think that the Israel Adesanya Kelvin Gastelum fight may be the best fight that I've ever had the chance to call, so I'm happy for those two individuals as well. We're excited to go.
And a big fight card this weekend as well with Ilia Topuria going up against Charles Oliveira. I know you can't give us too much of your opinion, but how would you break that down? Obviously, it's a very interesting fight.
So I think what has been most impressive for me is to see the way the fellow fighters have talked about Ilia Topuria in these crazy glowing terms, suggesting that not only is he the best boxer in the UFC right now, but he might go down as one of the greatest mixed martial arts athletes of all time, fighting the most decorated fight stopper in UFC history, who a lot of people aren't given a chance to, and he's the guy who's the former undisputed champion in this division. So I'm surprised Topuria's getting the red corner. I'm surprised more pro fighters aren't picking Charles. That's why they play the games. I just have a microphone.
You're a big Chinese guy, odds guy. Charles is plus 500. That's good value, right?
I will stop short of suggesting it's good value because I'm calling the fight, but when I first predicted what the betting line would be, I certainly did not expect it to be that bloated. And I do think that Charles deserves better, but ultimately when they set the line, they're trying to get two-way action, and the masses aren't betting on Charles, at least right now at that number. So.
And of course, this fight is happening because Islam vacated the title to move up to welterweight. Were you surprised about that move?
Well, I was actually surprised to hear Islam Makhachev's comments this week suggesting that he might actually go back down to 155 pounds. Perhaps the calendar will align. I think if any champion deserved the opportunity to become a simultaneous two-division champion, it was Islam Makhachev. So part of me hopes he does come back to 55 and shows everybody who's boss again.
Do you think that depends on how he does against Jack Della Maddalena?
Yeah, I think it is result dependent. If he beats Jack, I think maybe there would be less of an inclination to go back down. Were he to lose, maybe that would open up his mind to that. But he's the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the sport, and I hope people will continue to acknowledge him as such until he loses.
How do you think he does at welterweight against JDM?
Well, I don't think anybody would have beaten Jack Della Maddalena on the night upon which he beat Belal Muhammad and took the title. So I think that if he gets Jack's best, it's going to be difficult, But if anybody can do it, it's Islam. But I'm just telling you, what Jack was able to do against Belal Muhammad was a signature performance, and I'm not sure that anybody is going to beat Jack when he is firing on all cylinders quite like that.
And a big figure of the sport, Jon Jones, recently retired. What did you make of that retirement?
A lot to unpack with Jon Jones. In the nature of time, I would just suggest I think it's a little bit of a disappointing note upon which to go out, right? I think that maybe there was some misinformation out there. He wasn't necessarily truthful with the masses in terms of what his appetite was or wasn't for the fight. And not that he necessarily owes that to people, but I think part of the uproar is the fact that people were expectant that we were going to get that fight. We're not getting that fight, and they're taking it out on one of the greatest mixed martial arts athletes of all time.
Does it affect his legacy for not taking that fight?
I think in the short term maybe, but hopefully in the long term it doesn't affect his legacy, because as Ilia Topuria said this week, if you beat Tom, right, there's always going to be another guy. And then if you beat Tom Aspinall by contentious split decision, what, do you got to fight him again? When is enough enough? And John's going to be 38 years of age, and I understand outside of the octagon there are myriad reasons to not give him the benefit of the doubt, but when it comes to this decision, protecting the legacy or legacy preservation, whatever you want to call it, I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt.
Are you disappointed that you didn't get to see the Tom Aspinall fight?
Absolutely. And disappointed that we got the Stipe Miocic-Jon Jones fight several years after it would have maybe been a little bit more competitive. So, yeah, I mean, I'm a fan first, but Cyril Gane's a problem too. Alexander Volkov is as well, and our coverage never bears. So.
With Jon Jones retiring, stepping aside, I won't hold you to it, who do you put in that number one pound-for-pound spot now? Or is it still kind of vacant?
I still think for me it's Islam Makhachev until he loses, right? I think Merab Dvalishvili is making a very strong case, and I think the active schedule for Merab swings the pendulum a little bit. Islam, you're getting twice a year, Merab, you're getting 3 times a year. But right now, I don't remove a guy unless they lose. Islam Makhachev is my number one pounder.
Topuria wins impressively against Charles. Does he move up? How close does he get to that list?
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly on that short list, Style points matter, and even though Ilia Topuria and Sean O'Malley, there are a lot of reasons for their resonation with fans, but the number one reason why those two resonate with fans to the extent to which they do is because they knock people clean out.
Speaking of goats, we got the women's goat over there, and then we just saw Kayla. How pumped up, how excited are you about that Amanda and Kayla legacy versus belt fight.
So when Amanda Nunes retired, she came over and kissed me on the forehead, greatest moment of my life. I knew it wasn't final. I just had an inkling that, and a lot of people did, that it wasn't going to be her last fight. But I don't know that I dreamt that we would get this fight. So it's very exciting. Hopefully it's Kayla Harrison's last cut down to 35. But the magnitude of that fight is certainly not lost upon me.
There have been a better opponent for her to come back for?
No, I think it's perfect. You know, I feel for like Norma Dumont and the other bantamweight contenders who build up a winning streak, and then now they might be looking at a 2 or 3 fight series with Kayla and Amanda. So I always feel for some of the other contenders in a straight meritocracy, but that's as big a fight as we can put together.
Yeah, a quick question about your job, about your work. You have been years in this company. How does it feel for you to be part of the big shows and be the one that shows the excitement of the sport to all the people that is watching through TV?
Well, I take the responsibility very seriously, maybe sometimes too seriously. It's a tremendous honor to be entrusted with the Hall of Fame ceremony or calling fights on pay-per-view. But I really just try to keep my head down and sort of knock down the cone in front of me that day, as trite as it sounds. You know, I didn't get here by tooting my own horn. So, you know, hard work kind of leads the dance for me. But thankfully they call my number, you know.
Another fighter that is retiring next month is Dustin Poirier. I know you, like everybody else, have a fondness for Dustin. What is your most memorable moment of Dustin's? And do you think he's actually going to stay retired?
I do think with Dustin, he will stay retired. This is the perfect send-off. Even if he somehow loses to Max Holloway in New Orleans, I still think this will be the final fight for Dustin. I think he has bit off plenty, and he has financial freedom. I guess 2 moments, certainly the knockout of Conor McGregor, but the fight with Dan Hooker during COVID in the Apex was one of the most violent fights that I have ever called, and there were no fans, so you heard every strike. So I think Poirier is going to get into the Hall of Fame on his own, of course, and then I think that fight with Dan Hooker is also going to get in.
And just another quick one on a big fight as well coming up with Dricus du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev. Obviously, that's a big one. How do you break that one down?
That's the best fight we can make. Khamzat Chimaev finally in a championship setting. That is the #1 fight in the sport. Total chaos. I'm trying to not cuss here. I can't imagine a better matchup when they lock the door behind those guys. It's bulletproof matchmaking, and we'll see you guys mid-August in Chicago.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
10 minutes.